network switches.
Yes, sir. The third item is RFP 15474 network switches, accessories, and services. Again, I have included the executive summary consisting of the information that was used to make the selection, along with the original RFP that was published for response, and thirdly, a cost breakdown that identifies what will be placed and installed into our school buildings and the costs associated with it. I'm coming to you with this recommendation for replacement of the DeKalb County School District's core, head-end, and school MDF switches that have currently reached end of life and have not been replaced for approximately 10 years. This is equipment that sits on the end of our fiber network. Most of you may not know because I wasn't here, but our fiber network has a lifespan of approximately 25 years, so it's in very good shape. It's a very good investment. Most of the equipment on the network has reached end of sale, so they're not selling anymore, and end of life means you won't have support for it. And so we put out an actual RFP for this, and so the overview is as follows. 6 companies submitted and were considered. They were evaluated in 6 main areas: price, experience, technical requirements, installation and configuration, project management, and ordering and warranty services. After evaluating all 6, Layer 3 Communication was considered to be the best choice for the district. Just to add, yes, earlier last year, you approved the workstation RFP. You also approved wireless for us as well. And so now what we're asking for is equipment on the network to actually make it run as efficient as possible. And so with that, I'm asking that the board approve the Board of Education award RFP 15474 network switches and accessories and services to Layer 3 Communication as a preferred vendor, along with a cost not to exceed $6.8 million for networking needs and services. Again, after July 1st, 2014, this project is slated to begin pending E-rate approval by the federal government.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Mayfield.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions, Mr. Brantley. And this actually sort of plays into the previous discussion about access points in the classrooms, and I'm wondering if the controllers that are at the school buildings, can they handle the capacity of all 32 access, to each access point having 32 devices?
Well, that's a good question. The access points actually for the wireless are the controllers are different.
Okay.
They're actually the cost is in that item. The controllers specifically that I'm talking about in this item are for your standard-based desktop PCs, our labs, etc. And they absolutely can handle that. So they're running on, although they're on the same network, they have 2 separate controllers for us to manage them separately.
Okay. And so the ones for wireless has the capacity without having to upgrade them, essentially, in this process.
That's correct.
Right. And the second question has to do with, and this is really for the benefit, I guess, of stakeholders that may be listening, in terms of understanding the implications in the classroom for the head-in in communicating with the district's equipment. Do you have an assessment now of how the network performance now may either be, may be impacting what's happening in the classroom?
Yes, sir. It's impacting it from the standpoint of slowness, and not necessarily the computer being slow,
right,
but that piece in between the computer and the actual network is where you find a lag. And what we've started to find is that when you start placing, new computers on top of older networking equipment, you find that lag. And so, that's the difficulty that we're facing. Is not as fast as they're used to seeing, and in some cases it could be worse, because when you have old equipment old computers that are working on old networking equipment, it actually can run better, but when you see that mismatch, that's when you start running into trouble. So it's affecting the classroom when you only have a short amount of time to get that instruction in, and it's taking that amount of time. That's where you're seeing the effects at.
Thank you. And last question, I guess, is do you have sort of a thumbnail description of how this network improvement fits into sort of the broader district's technology deployment strategy?
Well, absolutely. The district, from a technology standpoint, is moving to more cloud-based, and what that is internet-hosted applications. And so you want to have the network equipment to be able to support that for the future. So we're trying to free up our technical team to do more, to provide more services in the classroom to help that initiative, rather than to provide those technical things that are kind of babysitting jobs. And so it kind of moves that to the future when you start having, or could possibly have, instruction at home, and students need to get in from outside. It kind of supports and is right in line with that whole initiative for the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Orson?
And I just had a quick question. You alluded to the fact about supporting the network we already had in place, but I think it might help because a lot of people don't realize that we have a dedicated fiber network for our whole system that was, I guess, installed a decade ago. Is that not correct?
That's correct. We were one of a few in Congress, and really still are, that have that own our own network internally. And so that's a really big advantage and a huge cost savings, actually.
Is there any opposition to placing this item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, this item will be placed on the consent agenda.